managed service then. What were you thinking behind that when we first came up with the concept? What were the reasons behind it? Was it more retention? Was it
I think it's more a lot of people. There's different reasons really for managed service. So at the moment, our product, the way it's capable for people in terms of a self-serve and in terms of the onboarding and the training that we support. But managed service, there's a lot more aspect to it. So in terms of resource, so especially around kind of the last 8 to 10 months, a lot of focus is maybe how can they shift their kind of offline to online. There's a lot of expertise, so a lot of well-versed strategies as well. Of kind of now we have to be more reactive. So I think for managed service for us anyway, it's a lot of our expertise and how we can kind of be an extension, a part of their operations.
I think we did see we saw an outcrying for that during lockdown, I think, and we weren't necessarily prepared. I think it's fair to say I don't think we necessarily had the resource in place to cater for that either. Which so like I know this is the timing of it coming into another one. It's pretty lucky for what we had set up, but we definitely did see that through lockdown. That was one of the biggest things I think we were asking. We had people asking for.
Yeah, and I think as everybody else, we can be prepared as much as we can be, and especially for Black Friday as well coming up and Christmas, we've got all the data from the previous years of what's worked well for our product, what hasn't, for overlays. So it's kind of we've got that data to back us up and how we can kind of use this and the current situation that's happening in the economy now to kind of drive that support and showcase our expertise.
When we came up with the idea for the free campaign, we always going to be giving people a 2-week trial as well as the managed stuff. Is 2 weeks good? Basically, is 2 weeks going to be enough? Do you think?
I think it's a case of for Black Friday. So your Black Friday, it started off being kind of the busiest days of the year for everybody, for all retailers. But now it kind of spans across, the week before, Cyber Monday, Manic Monday, all of those. And I think especially now with the way the situation is, a lot of people are shopping earlier online. Yeah. So I think for us it's a test and learn. So it's a lot of people now have already planned what exactly they're going to be doing. There's some that haven't even thought about it. There's been other areas bring the shops how they can kind of change their operations that side. So I think it's more of a test and learn of what Black Friday is going to look like, and from there, is it going to extend? How can they make the most of the overlays and chop and change them out based on the features? Like
an only digital Black Friday. Is it going to be? I know everybody's banging on about it, but do you think it's going to be as crazy as everyone's gearing up for?
Yeah, it's going to be mental.
Do you think it actually is going to be as mental?
Because you got people that they're more safe in the knowledge that they've got furlough income. There was never first time round. There was all that insecurity going on. You saw the lockdown spends accelerate as time went on anyway last time. So yeah, people will be doing a lot of browsing now. I bet if you looked at our stats, which I probably should have looked at our stats. I bet if you looked at them, they're going up. Like certainly as of today, they'll be starting to creep up in terms of page views, but potentially not purchases. Yeah, creeping up. You'll see that it's almost like that kind of whiplash effect of it.
It's the search trends as well, like you see, kind of, is it the all I want for Christmas? Yeah. There was a lot of that going around with the screenshots saying it's already happening, guys, and you can people are starting to search for like the Christmas songs and things like that. Christmas radio stations as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
And the Black Friday, nuts. That was like, I think a lot of people have just thought, let's get it all in now. Let's browse online. Sales are going to happen earlier. And it's just a bit of a peace of mind for everyone, isn't it, that they're all ready?
Yeah, and I think we have seen a big difference with feedback from our clients, whereas the first lockdown, it was a complete unknown, wasn't it? Nobody knew when we were coming out of it. There wasn't an idea. Well, did they put a date on the first one? Did they put an end date on it?
The actual lockdown.
Do you remember the first one?
No, they said 3 weeks, and then it was going to be reviewed after 3 weeks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So everyone thought 3 weeks of lockdown. Little did they know. Same will happen again.
But at least there was a date on this one. I do feel like it's put some people at ease a little bit more than last time. We haven't seen a big rush of people unsure of what the spending budget was going to look like, have we, this time? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that at least whatever the soft deadline was for it. Deadline? Not sure the right term, but whatever that was, I think
Flatline.
Whatever that was. It's definitely.
It was coming to my mind as well.
There's no good line. There's no good line.
End of the line.
Yeah, not even end of the line.
I think that. Oh, don't. Even deadline is bad in that context.
The ease.
Ease. I think the solid date has given.
Yeah.
Has put people up to rest a bit, and seeing that they actually didn't. The companies that didn't go under the first one.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel awful saying this. I normally shop for Black Friday stuff or Christmas stuff. September, October, I would say I'm quite organised. Mm-hmm. I don't like waiting until Black Friday because I just like to be done by November. But during like lockdown in July, I started actually buying Christmas gifts because you've got a lot more time. Couldn't go out on a weekend. Started to buy bits and bobs, stocking fillers anyway. But I've got to a point now where I've stored them away. I've stored them away and I don't know what I've got everyone, so I feel like I'm just buying in panic.
Yeah. I mean, I think from what we've read as well, I think supply chains are going to be all right, but it's the delivery that I'm still a bit unsure about.
I think it could just overhaul everything, all the infrastructure that's in place. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think it could be that big, Black Friday. I think the only thing that's helping it is now people tend to do Black Friday a week. So you see this gradual creep up of sales towards the actual day. And then I think a lot of people don't believe that that's the end of it anyway, because a lot will continue it on over the weekend through
just merges into winter sale, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, it does. Yes. It's no one really believes that's their last day for getting that Echo Dot off Amazon.
Well, they've been doing Black Friday deals for a week, I think.
They've started them already?
Yeah.
Last year was Black Friday fortnights, wasn't there?
There was like
they were actually running it for 2 weeks, weren't they? I think some of them.
Yeah, they've
had Prime Day as well.
But at least that takes the edge off it, because if you imagine pushing all of those, like compressing all those orders into one day,
especially when you've like put stuff on your website like will be delivered between 3. You've set deadlines.
Yeah.
You've set the goalposts.
Yeah, it's not happening.
So Amazon started their Black Friday deals on the 26th of October.
Was just after the Prime Day, wasn't it, as well?
Oh, okay. Did it lead on directly from that?
I think so, yeah.
It's becoming a bit like the, you'll know, Keelan, the sofa world.
Oh, yeah. There's many jokes to do with that, where it was like after the nuclear holocaust, there'll be cockroaches left in a DFS sale.
That is the most independent sofa salesman joke I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's awful. It's really awful. But they're always, because it's an industry which is kind of been declining for a long time now. Mm-hmm. Like the expos I used to go to have been
those expos?
Yeah, it was Birmingham NEC.
Yeah.
Over the entire thing.
Oh, really?
6 or 7
just sofas everywhere.
Yeah. It's nuts, isn't it?
Weird
DFS Central.
Techie mirrors which you turn into TVs and stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the best bit about it, to be honest. The rest of it, I was like, that's another chair.
We're seeing the average launch day for Black Friday. I think it was last year. It was like the 19th of November.
Yeah.
So I think that's we've already exceeded that. I think it's already now. It's like a lot of the like TK Maxx and all of them. They've already got it on the navigation ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we are at the peak of Black Friday as a concept now.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think in the next few years we're going to start to see it decline as it spreads out. I think.
Yeah.
You can't keep going further and further forward.
I don't think retailers particularly like it. Retailer might correct me here, but I don't think they're particularly keen on it.
In what way? What respect?
Well, it basically absorbs the majority of the Christmas sales all in one day, compressed into one day at discount.
Okay, right, yeah.
So whereas in the run up to Christmas, you typically not really be running that. Your sales are Boxing Day onwards, typically. Now it's a game of heavily discount on the run up to Christmas, which is, well, it's their prime selling time, really. It should be their prime selling time at full price. So, but that's the nature of what Amazon's kind of, that's the mindset that Amazon's kind of pushed onto everyone, really, I guess.
Have we seen any more brick and mortars go out of business after the announcement of this one?
So, my thoughts on it, Well, you're starting to see things like your obvious ones, like your not so much. I mean, we're not talking retail businesses here, but you're starting to see a lot of kind of your long-standing like nightclubs and night spots and things just going right. We're closed. We're closing for good.
International ones and stuff that people
because they know they're not being completely realistic. They're not gonna be opening until 6 months at least, if they're very very lucky. But I think what's happening is, and we noticed it ourselves, is you had things like. You could have a break in payments on your VAT. You could have a break in payments on your PAYE. There was the bounce back loans of 50k. People weren't actually having to pay staff because they were furloughed as well. So there was that support. But what's happening is the background is even because you're not retailing, you're still sat in stock. You're still sat in debt. You just basically it's not like. It's not like you're going out of business because you don't have these bills to pay, because a lot of people would have like landlords who give them a bit of a grace period, things like that. What's happening is these debts are accruing all the time. I mean, we noticed it with things like PAYE. If you put it on pause for a month, it's accruing interest.
Yeah.
All of these things are accruing interest all the time. And what's happening is because nobody's sitting there going, you need to pay this money back in full now, or even potentially start making payments in a lot of cases. There's not that they're not going out of business because the bill is not due. Once that starts in the turn of the year, once that starts coming in, that's when you start seeing all these businesses close down.
Yeah.
And what's happening with the second lockdown is all it's doing is just putting that whole thing on pause, just building that debt longer until it's obviously released going into next year. Bit of a grim picture, but that's kind of the way it is. And everything's pushing online. But for a lot of stores, I mean, we use Primark as the example, and Primark's not going to be in any kind of real trouble overall. But having a strong online presence is not going to bail out 100, 200, 300 shops and the revenue that those things would do.
No. I think it's 11,000 stores in the UK have shut. Well, it was based kind of towards the end of October, just related to this as well.
That's crazy.
That's even prior to the announcement of this one.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the other thing, that even those companies that are positioned to do well online, and from an infrastructure perspective, how prepared can you be for something like this? It's not like you can hire all of those staff to do it. You can't get them up and running quick enough to react to someone announcing a lockdown 2 weeks in advance. You can't. And what do you do with them after that point once you've staffed up? It's not like it's going to remain like this forever. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be higher demand for things, but it's not as if those staff that are brought on for that they're going to be sat on hands for January, February, March. Do you know what I mean? Unless they are bringing in temporary staff. But I think we've seen it where it's been, even though people have unfortunately been losing the jobs and stuff like that, when we've been hiring, we haven't seen a great number of applications come in compared to usual.
No, because digital seems to have kind of stayed strong throughout. So you're not really seeing that. We thought coming out of it we were going to have job applications coming in, like
I thought we'd have loads,
hand over fist, but
definitely.
we really haven't. A lot of applications from other job sectors into ours.
Yeah, that's true.
But the problem we've got is that in our case we're needing people kind of established in digital, really.
And that's the thing, these e-commerce, these companies can't bring people in without much experience as well to handle something such a big period as well. You can't bring someone in without even when it comes to picking and packing, if you're going to get someone and you need someone at least knows how to do it and what the process is.
Yeah, I think in terms of those who are looking to support based on a second lockdown or anything in the future as well, especially for Black Friday and Christmas, you're saying what's going to happen with delivery. You're going to get a lot of people who've helped out in the supermarkets previously.
Yeah,
they're probably going to return to that and help out.
Yeah,
whether it's part-time, a temp. A lot of supermarkets, retail stores look for temp staff around Christmas time.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a lot of probably the delivery drivers as well.
So from you as the architect of our managed service offering, how do you think that's factored into what we've put together as a part of our package?
Well, I think it's more for a lot of people, a lot of clients we've got, whether they've got an e-commerce manager who's got a team, or if it's an owner who's just managing the whole kind of marketing and e-commerce kind of strategy, is that, I guess everybody in-house, in terms of our departments, we understand from a product point of view, we know from a marketing strategy, looking at kind of an email side and in the campaign. So I think it's that operations side of it.
Right.
So it's for us, it's kind of discovering what's their pain points,
Yeah, okay.
internally, what are they trying to achieve, and we can kind of loop that back in. I think for us it's, the conversations that we're having with clients, especially with this free campaign, is it's not just about Black Friday, but what are they trying to achieve kind of as a recovery strategy from this over the last 8 to 10 months.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's for us, it's looking at each individual industry, not just a Black Friday campaign, but right, what happens after that? I think a lot of people are now just thinking Black Friday, but it's, are we still going to have the winter sale?
Yeah.
As we go into December, what happens for Q1? So for me, it's finding out, right, what are your actual plans for the next 6 to 12 months if this was to happen?
Yeah.
I guess, if we're going to have multiple lockdowns like this for, a long period of time like we did before, or a short period, is we need to have those in place and play by ear and look at the data that we've learned and our new audiences, I guess, that we've got.
Yeah, essentially, it sounds like whatever we get to put in place now is going to be a pretty decent blueprint for what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah, because I think already they're mentioning things like lockdown 3, lockdown 4, that type of thing, almost like it's going to be a regular thing going into next year.
That's tough.
I don't see much of an argument against it, really.
No. Agreed. Again, but yeah, as this...
I was just say, historically speaking, it's a bit of a weird tangent, but historically speaking, pandemics and stuff like that tend to ride out over about an 18-month to 2-year period. Now, obviously, you can do a lot of things to mitigate, death and destruction and all that kind
we need the Great Fire of London again.
But yeah, historically
Hellfire.
speaking, it's about 18 months to 2 years to look at it from the top down for this thing riding itself out and working its way through humanity, really, which is, I guess, something to look at and looking forward, but I could be wildly wrong.
I think this is why it sort of seems quite a natural fit for us to have a service like this, because the clients we deal with specifically generally aren't geared up for these sort of bumps, are they? Really?
No, and I think this all
They've
ties...
got enough on.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
we've got enough on in terms of looking at their infrastructure and how they're going to react and scale and things like that. So we're kind of there just to look after those, make sure that there's no real oversight in terms of of managing these things.
And I think it all really, kind of goes back to the empathy side of it. So from our webinar and what we spoke about in terms of kind of wearing their shoes, and people are just kind of being blindsided and they're looking at the operations and it's like computer says no, we just need to stick to what's always been the usual. It's for us, it's understanding what they're going through and
having that flexibility.
Yeah.
'Cause I think it's fair to say, from a sort of marketing perspective, a lot of the common through line from comms from agencies and that type of thing over the last 5-10 years has been on that computer says no type stuff. It's been look at the stats, look at this, look at that, but no one's... It seems like people have lost those soft skills like we talked about in the webinar.
Yeah.
Empathy and e-commerce.
It's like
it is true, though, isn't it?
The creativity of it as well, and I think it's when you said about the numbers there, like we're all... Like I do with day in, day out, we'll look at the data, what does that mean? What does the data say? What's the trends? Yeah, that's great, but it's the people behind the numbers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just looking at, your segments and like putting yourself in their shoes. Like we're going through it day to day, trying to shop ourselves. So if we're trying to express to clients, their recommendations, we need to...
I think we're all guilty of it. It's catching yourself in the moment and remembering that, though, isn't it? I think you get so focused on efficiency and the numbers that you do have to catch yourself to take a step back and look at it. I think that's going to be more important. I mean, how many times can you say it? Unprecedented circumstances, unprecedented times, all that shit. Like, how many more times can you...
It's like starting in an email as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Truly is.
In these difficult times.
But I think it is fair to say that we've taken that to heart when it comes to what we've put in this strategy as well, though, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's looking at, you can focus on a Black Friday campaign, but it's more kind of, rather than just kind of having that kind of negative opt-out, especially for data capture, it's like, right, this is the most important time that you should be speaking to your audience. You're going to have new segments in there from this year that they might have had a certain touch point with you maybe just to browse, and they normally maybe shop in store, but now they're at a new touch point with you to convert. It's just loyalty and retention is going to be huge in 2021.
Well, it's crazy that the fact that we sort of didn't let up with our comms and stuff over the first lockdown put us in a really strong position coming out the back of it, if I'm being honest. Like, that changed the game for us in a marketing perspective, I'd say. The fact that we didn't let up on what we were spending, what we were doing, it was harder to do, don't get me wrong, when we were doing like podcasts on, like, sat on my bedroom floor with like headphones on, like with duvet over so it wasn't like reverberating, that type of stuff. But because we didn't stop doing it, we came out in a much stronger position. But we were lucky because we had the manpower to do it as well. That's the other thing. So that's we have sort of that. I think that's where we came from when what we were looking for, the problem that we were trying to.
Yeah, it's you're gonna have a roadmap. Like, we had a roadmap. We knew exactly what we wanted to do for this year, and a lot of retailers will, in terms of looking at their data and the quarterly strategies. They'll know exactly what they need to do. Oh, that worked well last year. We'll do that for Q4.
Yeah,
can be prepared. But now everyone's just overwhelmed, and they've been well versed, and they actually need to maybe a bit more reactive with certain products. Like, there's been certain brands and stuff that have worked really well.
Yeah.
In terms of pushing a product they would never have done that time of year. So I think for me, it is still up in the air, but
it is crazy that, isn't it? So you try and be as best prepared as you can. You're putting strategies together. You've got Gantt charts, etc. And then all of a sudden something like this happens, and all of that work is out the window.
It's like, normally I would go to the supermarket on a Saturday or Sunday, go, getting some bread or, some chicken or something like that. And the next thing I know, I've got a subscription with a butcher's, down Devon or something like that. So it's crazy, but it's nice to even use local businesses that are not local to me as well.
Yeah.
Helping out. So I think it was like, I hadn't seen my friends for a couple of months. So I ordered them some brownies from, it was like word of mouth, all this place in London which does really good brownies. Ordered them, delivered to them. We're able to have a Zoom and catch up over tea with something I've given them as a gift.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's quite nice, and that's something I'll use again, so really good.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to help out the smaller, almost village high streets and town high streets kind of longer term, instead of, obviously your city centres, your retail parks are going to do, like Teesside Park's going to take a hell of a hit.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it helps us, almost like little villages that have been completely decimated, those high streets by, certainly in this region, by the big supermarkets opening and things like that. I wonder if they're going to, because they're smaller and more adaptable, aren't they?
Yeah. Like, anecdotally speaking, there was a bakery next to a sizable Tesco near me, where I used to live. Never saw anyone in it really until lockdown, and there was queues.
Yeah,
there was queues down the road.
It's almost like it might be coming full circle, almost like a fashion trend in a sense.
Almost,
whereby for example, I remember when Toys R Us put every toy shop, little town toy shop, out of business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's fallen away, hasn't it? That's gone mainly because of online in their case.
Tell you what is interesting though, I think the sentiment for buying local and supporting independence and things like that has been around quite a while, but I don't think many people really put the money where their mouth was when it came to it.
Exactly, yeah.
I think it was quite a bit of a fad at one point.
It was a fad. Like, I've got a street near me, so I live very close to the city centre, but I've got a little street that's got everything from your bakery to, your couple of butchers on there and greengrocers and stuff. And I did start to use it before lockdown, but they were just so adaptable, maybe compared to some high street stores in terms of delivery to local postcodes and areas and things like that. And there's a massive intake on it now in terms of like Facebook community groups saying, I'm struggling to get a fruit and veg box, and everyone's just helping out as a community in the local area of where to go and recommendations.
That is actually cool, really, isn't it? Like, you'd never really see that grassroots. Like, exactly. You never really, people don't put the money where their mouth is with that stuff normally.
Yeah.
And I think it sort of sickens you as well at one. Sounds a bit harsh, but when you hear people talking about it and you know they're not actually doing it.
Yeah.
It was quite sickening at one point.
Yeah, it's true.
Was like you sort of lose.
I got to that point with a lot of the.
You're quite jaded with it, don't you?
I got to that point with a lot of LinkedIn stuff, where people are doing these things, like all these campaigns for, and these are big corporate companies doing all these campaigns for. Remain unnamed. I'm digressing a bit here. Remain unnamed, but there was one doing one of the biggest producers of oil you'll ever see, doing like these eco competitions and things like that. Travel from here to here without, sustainable energy or whatever it is, and you're sitting there going, wow. Really?
So it's misdirection, isn't it? In a weird way, it's like, look at this. Well, they're doing something over
That's
here.
a huge example, but like some of them have been, they just, you can see right through it every time one of these companies is doing. It's almost like they must sit down at the boardroom and go, right, what are we going to do to fall in line with whatever the chosen subject is that that
corporate
week or
social
that
responsibility
month kind of thing.
Yeah.
There are metrics. People have metrics for that CSR stuff.
CSR stuff was a big thing, really, in terms of you've got your local charities.
Yeah.
Then you kind of your big, your ones that everyone's heard about. But
I mean, nobody's going to tell me that when the supermarket boardrooms, when they sit down in the boardroom and they say, right, we're gonna get rid of all these plastics. We're gonna make sure we're not using plastics. Nobody's sitting there going, oh, this is a huge celebratory day for us.
Yeah.
It's more like they're sitting there going, oh no, we've got to fall in line with this. What we're gonna do? Start with the straws.
I
straws distraction for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it's when that stuff starts rubbing up against marketing spend. That's when the waters get muddied. Just obviously I'm marketer, so
yeah,
I'm having to go at myself there. But I think when you start, anything ethical rubs up against money being spent.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, unfortunately. Which is quite nice where we've actually seen those queues outside those shops.
It's good that this has been, don't get me wrong, this is good that this type of thing's been forced out there.
Yeah, because I think it's actually finally happened in a real way rather than just being talked about.
Yeah.
It is a nightmare buying some random fruit and veg and there not being a plastic bag to stick it in. Like you just left putting 3 pairs into a
pocket.
Yeah.
In a pocket.
It's quite heartening.
Yeah, it's good that it's
nice.
happening, but it's the way it's happening in that it's everyone's going, oh yeah, it's corporate responsibility kind of thing, and it's just so scratch the surface slightly, and they're just going, right, how do we make money off this?
It's quite
doing?
obvious.
It's the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very easy to go wrong with that, isn't it?
I think I get frustrated at people being taken in by it so much. So you're looking at LinkedIn and something's got tens of thousands of likes from some whatever it is, some supermarket for some big corporate, and you're sitting there going, you're not getting taken in that easily, are you?
Are they being taken in by it, or do they just want to look like they've been taken in by it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
The one I like it is that little virtue signal for the day.
Virtue signalling. Wow.
I'm a bit of a cynic in that regard. I do think there's a lot of good people out there that genuinely want to do good and do it for all the right reasons, but there is those people where they see something like that and they're like, oh, that's such a good thing to follow, and people will like me for liking that, and then that's me done for the day.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with that though, right? That's always happened, but now it's got a name. Everyone talks about it more.
Yeah.
Used to be
it's always
helping a
been
granny
good.
cross the road. It's evolved.
Yeah, exactly. It always has been a thing though.
Yeah, just leave her in the middle of the road.
I'm not virtue signalling. She can get run over.
Don't be a hypocrite, leave her there.
I think in terms of the recycling and sustainability, having to work from home during lockdown, I don't know about yous, but my green and blue bins, don't know if that's the same in terms of Sunderland Council or anything like that, but was just packed.
Yeah.
Because I was more at home. You know what I'm like with
Bottles
the number
of wine.
Bottles of wine.
Prosecco.
Bottles of wine.
Piled high.
All the Prosecco from the quizzes and Zoom calls, but the number of
You don't need to have Prosecco with a Zoom quiz, by the way. That's
breakfast on my
Just
cereal.
finding any kind of Zoom call to drink.
on my cereal in the morning. But it was just because I was home more, all the deliveries and stuff like that. But there's somebody who actually goes surfing. I think it's North Shields and Sunderland and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's always been worried about the plastics on our coast and things. So she actually, during lockdown, has created her own company from scratch. And has it was more, do you know when you used to get your milk delivered on your doorstep?
Yeah.
It used to come in those style bottles, but she's doing it in terms of washing detergent, shampoo, conditioner.
Oh, wow, okay.
And
That's
things
cool.
like that, based on the lockdown. She's like, right, this is a great time. And she set all that up, and it's been across BBC News and things. And to be honest, it looks pretty cool, and I think a lot of people will take that on as well.
Asda started doing the self-serve stuff as well, haven't they? With cereals and detergents.
Was it M&S as well?
Do you know what's mad about that? My grandma used to go to them places all the time when I was a kid. Do you know the big bins?
Yeah.
And get cereal and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Didn't look as cool as it does now. But it did happen.
I think I would
Which is
use
mad.
it,
I think I'd use it. Makes sense.
I'm quite careful, like planning out for the week and what I'm going to eat and things like that. And
Oh, I'm terrible.
yeah, want all more cupboard space, so I just try and.
I'm absolutely god awful with that stuff.
Just kind of made me laugh when I saw the photo of one of the supermarkets doing that. There was a giant plastic sign above. Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're just testing it. We might not be doing this full term. It's like, you got a massive plastic sign for it. Like, it's going to be melting at some point.
Yeah.
So you've got to contradict yourself in places, haven't you?
Yeah.
How's Greta been getting around the world?
Oh, no, to be fair to Greta, that was completely emission-free, the way she did it.
What? How?
The boat.
What boat?
She had a catamaran, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
She's been travelling the world in a catamaran.
Yeah, she did. To be fair to her.
I think family. Yeah, I think she was literally sailing around.
Yeah, she was. She went
Catamaran,
like New York,
wow.
stuff like that, yeah.
So hang on, because she's appeared in Europe, okay? So
Mhm.
she's taking a catamaran.
Yeah, she went to America on it. She did, to be fair to her.
What, across the Atlantic?
Yeah, peeing in a bucket and stuff.
What? In the catamaran.
Every time. Every time she's travelling.
Well, I don't think every
Or
time.
just because
I think
I'm just going across the pond.
the big
Just
time.
once.
The big time. The one she told everyone about. Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of the time, because
Probably
that's going to
flying.
take some
She's probably
weeks.
flying.
That's going to take a few weeks.
Yeah, she's probably flying.
Quite dangerous.
I was going to say.
Good on
And
her.
she's
How old is
purely
she?
on wind power as well.
get-
They didn't crack open that outboard motor.
No, supposedly not.
She just
As
said-
tempting as it was.
She just spoke one of her speeches into the seals. Just carried on.
Oh, wow. I won't hear a word against Greta.
No, it's great what she's doing, but I think that there's a weird hype with that stuff as well, where there's this kid called Boy in Slat, and he's the
Excuse me?
yeah, he's straight. I think he's a Middle Eastern kid, but he's like at 16 years old. He invented this thing where it cleans the oceans. You'll have seen it where you put
Yeah.
it in, and it's like, and it just cycles around and it just sucks stuff into it.
Oh, I have seen that. The big
It's like a
circle
conveyor
thing.
belt type
Yeah.
of thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he's been inventing different things around that, and he gets absolutely zero airtime from like any news because it's not the hot topic type thing.
Yeah.
And it's like what she's doing is great, but she's not actually offering a solution. This kid's actually offering a solution, and he's just being ignored because he's not
Oh, wow.
trending. You know what I mean? So even that's all,
Trending.
yeah, even that's all for me a bit hypocritical.
To be fair to her, though, that's the
Well,
That's
that's
the
not
media,
on her. That's
yeah.
not on her. That's on the media.
Don't know why I'm sticking up for her so much. I mean,
That's great.
she's great.
She's from being this absolute nobody, just this kid in front of Parliament to changing the world. Really, is pretty impressive.
She has gone quiet though, hasn't she? What's she doing now?
Lockdown.
She's throwing
Yeah.
plastic all over the place.
I think she was giving a speech the other week. I think she was posting up on social media about something, but again, she because she's less of a hypocrite than the rest of us. She has to be extra vigilant for, I suppose, how she acts.
Should be
Yeah.
quiet.
Very
Should be
careful,
be
yeah.
sailing. Should be
She's
sailing
too
right
busy
now.
sailing.
That's it. What would it be about 4 weeks? 4 weeks under wind to get across the Atlantic,
Let's see how
Pacific,
long.
wherever she's going.
Storms as well. Storms
Oh,
going
yeah.
on in America.
Give
Then.
me a fact check this.
No.
Still from Plymouth to New York.
That's impressive.
No
Plymouth
motor.
to
No
New
motor
York.
involved.
The Wikipedia article is titled "The Voyage of Greta Thunberg."
That is an amazing title.
That was a film.
Yeah, she
No, it already
completely
is cast.
carbon neutral. Yeah, it was in a.
And it was
60-foot
completely
race in
emissions
York.
free.
Yeah.
Everything to do with producing said catamaran.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh, we're going down a rabbit hole here.
It's like, where do we stop?
It took her 15 days.
That's like the
Plymouth
whole
to New
wind
York.
farm
Plymouth
thing,
to
isn't it?
New
The
York.
amount of
Yeah.
like the carbon emissions
crazy,
to create
that.
I know.
these things,
Well,
and then maintain them. It's incredible.
Electric cars, all lithium batteries, and
Yeah, I think they're looking at that. I'd looked at that quite a lot, where they said the amount of emissions to actually create them, but then as they scale up, apparently that's where you start to when it starts to come down. I think.
What Elon's doing now, the announcement he gave a few weeks ago, there's like 7 or 8 points to how he's revolutionising how to create the batteries and how efficient they are and how they're trying to be as ethical as possible in actually obtaining the lithium, that's the big one. That's the big issue, is the obtaining of it. There's potential slavery and conflict minerals, and it's some really sketchy stuff.
Can't win, can you?
You can't. We're all hypocrites. We really are. We live in a.
We just try and minimise.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You
We
can't.
do. we're aware of it.
You can't live and not be a hypocrite, I suppose. You change, don't you? I don't believe the same shit I believed when I was 16.
But
Is what it
bringing
is.
that back to like what we're talking about though, like in terms of the businesses, like you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is now, right? I mean, you have to, if you're gonna support local, say you support local, you're gonna have to, otherwise it's just gonna go.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
it.
gonna survive.
We
that's
say all
true.
this to do with local, but the supermarkets have certainly done well off the back of all of this, haven't they?
I also think it's true with comms as well. I think a lot of people can be often paralysed by a previous message and like, oh, we can't then change our tack on
Yes,
it.
that's true.
Yeah.
And
That
then
is
they just
true.
won't say anything or they'll stick with the old stuff, where I don't think it's that big a deal. I think people appreciate how candid you are with that
Just
type
the
of thing.
open and honesty, but you just don't want it as a... Unfortunately, for when people panicked with lockdown, it was just a batch and blast.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah,
everybody
precisely.
from the CEO. This is what we're doing. It's great, but it just got a bit, hate to say, a bit samey.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, okay, that's fine and stuff. And I know there was great campaigns of it, but it just seemed a little bit cold.
It was because they were almost applying these sort of predetermined like crisis comms plans to a situation where no one had ever dealt with it before.
No.
Yeah.
So you can have all these plans, like when I studied this stuff, like you have these set out, you have set crisis comms plans
Yeah.
for lots of things, but this is just, it didn't fit in any of those boxes, yet people were still using those like those frameworks to get the comms out, and it was just like, oh.
It was especially
like,
the
ugh.
ones where they used it to then try and increase their revenue. So it was more panicking people, like, stock up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were
It was
the
like,
worst.
stock up, hurry, it's going to go out because of this.
Yeah, it's like
Not
after
just
a week.
a general, like, oh, you know, deal ending soon. And I just think that's
Yeah.
not the way to go.
After the first couple of weeks, you saw the links creeping back into stuff.
Yeah.
And like the links to the pricing pages and things like that on the back of them. Yeah, it was a bit, ugh. Yeah. But that's what, I mean, that's obviously...
It's just weird, isn't it? It's the... It's highlight for me how out of touch the politicians are from what's going on every day.
Mm-hmm.
And like just basic common sense as well.
I think
So
it
like
goes
the
out the window.
gyms thing is one from, like I'm kind of on the side of by and large where, you know, you're always going to have these little niches that occur
Mm-hmm.
where they don't know whether they should be open or not and things like that, and some will be slightly unfair, or there's these little loopholes and things. You can't account for, you know, 60 million people or whatever in every
Yeah.
individual
Yeah.
case, so there's going to be some people that feel quite unjust over things.
Mm.
But things like, for example, the gyms shutting when they're saying you need to get fit and healthy. You need to get fit and healthy to stave off this disease. Perfect opportunity to do it. Shut all the gyms.
I know. I know. I think it did lay bare some of the bigger companies as well, who obviously got so much red tape for sign-off process on comms, on everything like that,
Yeah.
where you just there's no way they're going to get it turned around without ripping everything out.
Yeah, that's it.
Without ripping that
And the
all
other thing as
structure
well
out.
is this is you've seen this where we're talking about the gyms there, and the biggest ones that are making the biggest noise on social media and things like that are all your gyms.
Mm-hmm.
And like even like there was something, again, remain unnamed, but it was I think it was like a supplements or like food company to do with like workouts and things that were actually being sponsored by one of the major gyms in this as well. You know, like it's all a bit. You're hearing the messages from the wrong people. Everyone's kind of crying out for themselves in these scenarios instead of like a neutral voice kind of saying, actually,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be sensible to keep these open?
Yeah.
But it's odd. You wonder if this has ever been discussed at Parliament and how they kind of got around it, because in that case, something like 80 proven cases have come out of gyms, for example, and that's probably enough to say fine to keep them open in terms of like what you're facing in terms of like people's mental health and physical health as well.
Yeah.
You'd think so.
PR at that
Just
point,
some
isn't
odd
it?
decisions. Like for me, the universities as well. Getting on a rant here. The universities as well. Let's migrate hundreds of thousands of people around the country, stick them in halls, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then
That
come
scared
Christmas,
me.
let's
Yeah.
migrate them around again when they go back for Christmas. That is just unbelievable.
It's like almost like I'm no
Unbelievable.
scientist. You could see that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. I understand it with like youngsters and like, you know, primary school, infant school, that type of age where they can't, like, you're not going to get the most out of them, like self-learning from home.
Yeah.
They need a teacher. college, university.
Well, you've
You
got
do
it
it online.
You can do it online. Yeah, it's a lot of it's online as well now.
Yeah.
Like,
it just seems like there's a lot of people with power from these universities and things that have probably had a lot of say.
It's massive money.
Yeah. Well, you'd think it would already be stripped of the earnings because of the international students not being able to, or being
that's
kind
true.
of restricted in terms of being able to come over and study.
Yeah.
So you'd think they'd kind of write it off a little bit. But people going to uni, they'll still fill the university spaces with the online side of things. You'd have thought.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
Didn't
could
think
open it
about
up internationally by doing it online.
Yeah.
I'd like a degree from Cambridge. That'd be nice.
be able to get in now.
That's what my friend is.
I wouldn't have the points.
He's doing his PhD down in Cambridge right now, and he's had limited access to the labs because it's like pharmaceutical based.
Yeah.
And he said it's affected a lot of development, study and stuff like that from that regard. But most degrees though, like if you're doing an English degree, you can get books and materials and do everything you need online.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Practical based vocations and stuff where you need to be hands-on is more difficult.
Mhm.
But yes, to spend the payments to the people who can't do those courses and give them like just don't push for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
It does make sense.
Stick it online, sell the courses online.
just-
Entrepreneur style.
Well, it's
Do
just like
that.
the Open University, you get a lot of these where you do engineering for 4 years and you get the material and it's like, oh, here's your modules, off you go.
Yeah.
And you get
that's
access,
it.
you can email to a tutor now and again. Is that the way
Wait
it's
a-
going to turn out?
I had at uni. It was one of the courses. The guy said that you're old enough now to learn on your own. So
Mhm.
here's the textbook you need to buy. This is your last lecture.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, I think he was actually running 2 other jobs.
Freelance as well. Right. So, in regards to the managed service, how are we running people sign up and getting in touch?
I think it's more so what we're doing for anyone who's, I guess, interested or if they've already planned it or they just kind of want to know what we're getting up to. It's more we're just having a discovery call, just
Okay.
chatting, what they're doing at the moment. Are they still going to do it?
Mhm.
How has everything changed? And I think from there, it's more how we can support people, whether it's from a creative perspective, setting it up, the education of how to make the most of the tools, whether that's, they're utilising search, could they add anything in terms of promotional images in there, making sure we're kind of their search strategy based on the keywords that people have been looking for over maybe the last couple of months or weeks. And it's more, I guess, it's more of our expertise of what we've learnt. I think we've learnt a lot
Yeah.
from our clients over the last 6 months. And kind of, they're not alone because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are overwhelmed and panicked and thinking, right, I don't know, we'll just be reactive. But we've learnt a lot of what maybe they're not competitors, but what their industry's doing.
Mhm.
So I think it's just giving them a bit more guidance and a bit more hand-holding to support them on this
Yeah.
kind of what would be one of their biggest campaigns of the year.
So, am I right in thinking we're handling creative, strategy, and management as well?
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
full management side. And then as well, it's not kind of like a drop off from there, but after one of their campaigns or anything like that, it's looking at kind of what the return has been.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, what can they do moving forwards? Like, what have we learned from kind of their performance? What could they do for any quick wins that they could actually apply on their site straight away?
Oh, like a strategy calendar type thing.
Yeah, so it's looking at,
Okay.
right, how can they do, move from Q4 to Q1, whether that's the winter sale or
Mhm.
any other kind of big campaigns moving into like, Mother's Day or Easter or anything like that. It's quite scary.
Mhm.
But we're into November now and a lot of people are thinking about Black Friday.
Yeah.
But we need to be thinking about, right, what does 2021 look like with these circumstances?
Yeah, exactly. I think in the run up to Black Friday as well, certainly for Black Friday week, we'll be making all the platform stats
trends and
available as
stuff,
well.
yeah.
All the
Yeah.
trends.
We'll be
and
hammering
actually
that.
breaking it down this time. Now we've got a lot contributing now, so we'll be breaking it down via industry sector as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's good.
But people can come to their own conclusions, because that's what we've said it before. We've got eyes on hundreds of, if not thousands of websites,
Yeah.
and the performance and the stats behind them. Whereas as an online retailer, you've usually got eyes on your own stats,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got some hearsay about what so and so's doing, your biggest rival,
Yeah.
and you've probably got the you've probably still got access to the stats of the previous job you were in as an e-commerce manager and
Yeah.
know roughly how they're doing, and that's pretty much it. And we forget that at times. So if we can pull this, collate all this information together, provide these trends, it's just peace of mind during
Definitely
these
peace of mind, yeah.
uncertain times.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's just helping each other out in terms of, what 2021 is going to look like, and we're all, it sounds cheesy as well, but we're all in it together as well. Like, we're learning every day what clients are looking to do, what's worked well for them, and
it's
what
tough
hasn't.
to get a legitimate benchmark as well, isn't it, on
Yeah.
stuff? Whereas that's pretty black and white what it is when we're looking at that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool.
This has been a very diverse
We've gone everywhere, haven't we?
podcast.
Like Greta, gone everywhere.
From Greta and catamarans.
I was going to say, what was the agenda? Have we met it?
I don't know. I think we touched on it. I think we flew around it.
No,
We
we
orbited it.
The big thing for me was talking about Black Friday and sort of listening to your perspectives on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we got social cuts. I got my bits fine.
Yeah.